Hello, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir.
Good.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning. Are we expecting more students to join, or you guys are clustered together?
We're expecting more students, sir.
Okay. Anyway, we need to start because I have other activities somewhere. All right. So once again, I want to say good morning to you all. Welcome to ACS 422 lecture, which is Actuarial Statistics and Mortality Analysis 2. Mr. Maffeng, I've been taking you since the beginning of the course. You guys have the course content and all the materials, including some of the videos. And you could also go to my YouTube page to listen to the podcasts that have been prepared to simplify the concept. So it's a very simple course and it's very, very applicable, very practical, and it is the backbone of some of the live product pricing that the actuaries engaged in. So during the course of this lecture, students are expected to be introduced to the concept of crude death rate and standard mortality ratio. Hence, at the end of the lecture, you should be able to compute, when you have the necessary data, to compute crude death rates, compute standard mortality ratio. You should be able to differentiate between mortality and morbidity, develop good skills for constructing decrement tables, compute and compare mortality experience using both direct and indirect standardization methods. So the content of this course include mortality measures using vital statistics, standard mortality ratio, direct and indirect standardization, prevalence and incidence of disease, estimation of crude mortality rate, construction of mortality table, comparison of mortality experiences, construction of multiple decrement table, construction of abridged table, and computation of rates of mortality. So before now, in your contingency course, we have all been introduced to life table. It is a very, very important tool that are used in actuarial work. So life table is actually an instrument or I can say it is a device that is used to compute life expectancies, compute probability of a life that is currently on a given age. You can compute the probability of the future life. You can compute the probability that the life will survive up to a future lifetime, or the probability that the life will die before a future time. So it makes use of probability functions that put into consideration time that the observation is taking, put into consideration the time that the life have been in existence, and put into consideration total number of deaths experienced within the time period, and total number of births that put into that have been added into a population within the time period. So this device is very, very important. At that we have the ALT15 documented in the Yellow Book, although IFOA is introducing another table called the Red Book, which I'm trying to lay our hands on. But at least in our first semester, I shared an actuarial table with you, so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So as you can see on the screen, a life that is currently HX, the probability that it will survive for additional T plus S years can be a product that the life will survive up to a T years multiplied by the life surviving beyond X plus T to S. And you can also, interchange it, that it's the same as the probability that the life will survive up for additional S years, and then even survive beyond the S plus X years for additional T years. So this function is easily computed using the life table. So what do we use the life table for? What do we use it for? I've mentioned it during my introduction. This device is very, very important for the actuaries in monitoring mortality experience, and also estimating future lives, future expected survivor rate. For actuaries, life tables are very, very essential for risk modeling, very essential for pricing life product, very essential for pricing pension product, which is very important for investigating mortality experience, and also for demographic research. So these are very, very fundamental areas where life tables have been found very useful. So specifically, the very first area of application is in the pricing and reserving of life insurance. So the life table is used as a device by the actuaries to estimate probability that a policyholder will we survive to an age or we die before an age. And this information are very, very key as input to premium calculation and also fixing the benefit. That's the payout of the policy. So, number one key areas of application life table is pricing and reserving. I hope you are hearing me clearly.
Yes, sir.
So another key area of application is in the pension and valuation. So pension plan and valuation. So we use life table to design future benefit of pensioner. So for potential retirees. So you might want to know, based on the prevailing mortality rate, when your pension you expect to survive beyond particular age requirement. Or how many get how many you expect to apply. The life table will give you an insight in computing all these important metrics. So in the area of pension plan valuation, it is very, very useful. So apart from the pricing and reserving that we've identified earlier as number one key area of application, the second key area of application is in the pension valuation. So you want to estimate your liability, want to estimate your number of beneficiary of the scheme that you have designed for your workers. So all of this will be possible when you have a reliable life table. So life table can also play a key role in the longevity risk assessment. Like I said during our first course, that all of us, we are all able to hazards. The hazard of living too long, or the hazard of dying, too early. So, and it's as a result of these hazards that actuaries have designed product, whole life of the hazard of living too long. And then, the whole life is used to study the and then annuity to address the problem of living too long. Because no matter how much you save in your retirement savings account, there's this possibility that if you live for a very long time, that you might outlive your savings, in the retirement savings account you draw down from. So the mortality table will have given the pension, planner or whoever is deciding the future lifetime at the time when the program withdrawal is to be done. The life table would have given that person an idea of how long that retiree is likely to live after retirement. So that's okay. And the professional can also advise an individual based on the prevailing mortality rate, for that person to take up a life assurance. So especially if he is the breadwinner of the family and his death, sudden death, might create financial stress, for his immediate family and even other dependents. So it is advisable, at that point, that that individual go for a whole life product, so that if he dies, the family will be compensated based on the benefits. Hello, can you hear me? The network went.
Yes, bro, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Sorry, the network went bad. So
Yes.
so we continue. So I was giving us how life table can be very, very applicable in the area of longevity risk assessment. So, and I related it to the hazard that we are all exposed to, which is the hazard of dying too early or living too long. So you can imagine if you have a young family and, because of uh, how young the family is, to the woman at home is making sacrifice to take care of the little ones, and you are at work looking, um, for source of income so that the family can sustain itself and then grow. So as a breadwinner, you can imagine that if you passed, the financial burden and the financial stress that your wife and children will go through while you are away. You can imagine how enormous that stress can be. So that is the challenge of dying too early, because if you die too early, those financing, those opportunities that you bring to the family might stop. And most times it actually stops. So it's a challenge. So there has to be a way of designing or coming up with a financial compensation that will at least cushion the family, so that the family, will be able to um, withstand that shock within the, and then I wouldn't say it will recover, because you can't get your life back, but at least it will ease their stress until they find their footings. So that's how actuaries have designed products to take care of the problem of dying too early. So there's also the problem of living too long. Those are the two extremes. You have your savings based on the current pension scheme that we run, which is the defined benefit. A certain amount is being saved into your retirement savings account, and at the time of retirement, you start drawing down from this. So if you choose the program withdrawal options at the time of exiting, the quantity of money that you receive is a function of your future life expectancy. So it will be, it is expected that you live up to a particular, based on that, they will program your the sum of money that you have in your RSA account, and then they spread it, based on that expected number of years. So you can imagine if you now live beyond the expectation, that's a big burden. So who takes care of that? So if we don't have a responsive government that is, making provisions for retirees that have outlived their incomes, what would have happened? So that's the challenge, because that person would have outlived his savings. Hmm. So I hope you understand the concept of the longevity assessment and the issue and the hazard that we have faced. So another area of application of the life table is in the area of social security and public health planning. So you can imagine if you have a very good morbidity table that shows how many the probability of 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 one having malaria, of one having one critical ailment, and so on. So if you have all of those well documented, and you now have a population of maybe 1 million. So to estimate the number of people that is expected to have malaria, number of people that is expected to have typhoid, or number of people that is expected to be sick. So just multiply that probability by 1 million, and then it gives you an idea of the number. So once you have that number, you can make provisions. We are not saying that it will happen, but at least you have made provision to take care of the sick if eventually it happens. So, and how do you do the estimation? It is the life table, okay, that you will use. Okay, how do we know that there's need for government intervention in the area of child mortality, infant mortality, and so on? So if we have real-time, information about the mortality rate, of age 0 to 5 and so on. If it is increasing, it's easier for government to quickly find a way of introducing immunization policies and so on to stem that mortality rate. So their action will be based on what the figures in the mortality table is showing. So you can see how mortality table can help in area of social security and public health planning. So it's a very important tool for decision making, especially in this regard. So, of course, I've been saying it as part of my explanation, very good for survival analysis in the area of health and critical illness insurance. So, mortality table or life table is very key in all of these areas. So, and of course, in the area of mortality study, life table is very important for mortality rate estimation, life expectancy calculation, survival analysis, population projection, epidemiological and public health intervention. So and so on. So all of these are important areas of application of our life table. So let's look at the general pattern of mortality. So, and I would want you to pick up your life table. I want you to plot the graph of mortality rate against ages. I want you to plot the probability of survival against ages. I want you to do that for male, ELT 15 male, and ELT 15 female. And I want you to find the ratio of probability of survival and the mortality rate. That means PX all over QX. I want you to find this ratio and then plot it against ages for ALT15 male and ALT15 female. I also want you to plot the force of mortality, UX or MUX, against the ages. MUX against it. That means MUX will be on the vertical axis, age will be on the x-axis. Plot the graph using ALT15 male and ALT15 female. So I'll be adding other ones as we move on. So now let's have a look at the pattern, that is experienced, that is expected for different age range. So if there's a new life, that means there's a new birth between ages 0 and 1. It is expected. At that stage, of course, the babies, they are known as infant, and the mortality rate is usually heavy because these babies that are being born don't have any form of immunity against diseases. So the only form of immunity that they have is the one that they have from their mother before being, born. When they are born, many of them, will die as a result of not being able to withstand different severe medical conditions. So between ages 0 and 1, the mortality rates are expected to be very, very heavy. Then between 2 and 4, the early childhood stage, the mortality will reduce because that's as compared to 0 to 1. So you will notice that various governors or various state governments have introduced, even federal government too, they have introduced different immunization programs. So those immunization programs are meant to actually protect the babies from external, medical constraints that will put their life at risk. So the mortality rate will be light during this stage, and of course, the mortality rate will have improved as compared to the infancy stage. Now, when this stage is off, between 5 and 12 years, it will still be light because by then the babies will have stabilized because they have survived their first 5 birthday. Their probability of survival will be substantially high. So they have now acclimatized to the environment, and they have been protected both by their parents and by their by the government of the day. So it is very light. Many of the mortality at this stage will be due to accidents, maybe fall or the their parents had drugs on them. It could be that in a rough play. We notice that even within your environment, if you watch out babies of that or children of that age group. Now, ages 13 to 16. That's when they get to adolescent. So the mortality rate increases, slightly. It's no longer light. It will now increase, especially for men. And that's why I want you to plot all those graphs for male and female. You will see that at some point, the mortality rate for male will just pace the one for the female. Because at this stage, you see boys start experimenting all sorts of things, drugs. You see them on bikes when their parents are not around. They want to learn how to ride bike, and then you see many of them dropping dead out of accidents or out of other risky activities. So during this stage, it's 13 to 16, the mortality rate will increase. It will accelerate. It will accelerate more in boys than in girls, but generally, for the two sexes, it will accelerate. Then between 17 and 20, during the teenage, late teenage stage, it will accelerate, but it will reduce a little bit. But you start seeing the ladies, theirs might increase a bit. Some of them start getting involved with the use of contraceptive without guidance. So you see them having unwanted pregnancy, and in an attempt to remove the pregnancy, many of them, will die as a result. But as compared to ages 13 to 16, it accelerates. It's increasing. But again, more for the boys. Between these ages, if there are community clashes, you go and check. If there are communal clashes, the people that are likely to be involved in those crises are the boys, while the girls will, run for safety. The boys will move to the battlefront, and at the end of the day, if you count the number of dead, you have the boys, more. So you can imagine if I'm studying a cohort, 100 boys, 100 girls from birth, you will understand as a result of all these activities that the number of boys will have dropped drastically, and the number of girls, it will drop too, but theirs will still remain stable. And more importantly, between ages 21 and 40, the mortality rate is light because by that time, you guys have, the boys and girls have graduated. They have their education have let them know that there's a lot of benefit in living a decent life. Some will secure a very good job with the government, some in the private sector, and they want to settle down and marry, have children, and they are a bit careful. They don't just eat anyhow. The mortality rate is still high, but it is it is very light. But however, these ages, 21 to 40, that's when you have more men dying. Okay, look at areas where you have instability. Look at Ukraine, even in the northern part of Nigeria, where you have the Boko Haram ravaging the community. You look at what is happening between US and Iran. You look at other areas of conflict at the global level. Who are the soldiers? They are the men. They are the boys. And they are between this age. So you can imagine if you start with 1 million soldiers and you have 300,000 dying. Do you know what it means? It means 300,000 men have died. So if you are studying a cohort, many of them will have disappeared. So for women, it's a little bit better. Mortality actually happens, but it's very, very light. Okay, even women at this age range are very careful with their lifestyle. They go for medical checkup regularly, and so on. So within that age, it is light. But what how you compare the mortality for male and female, as you will experience in the ELT 15 male and female. So you will see all of this description on the graph. Okay. So, and then between 41 and 70, so issues started coming in. That's where some life-threatening disease will start showing. Some will start having symptoms of diabetes, hypertension, and some other critical illnesses. It will start showing up from this age 41 to 70. And at that rate, you will notice that even around you, you see people of young age, between 41 and 70 dropping dead. At that rate, so it will start accelerating from that point. Okay. And of course, when you get to age 70, you see, check the posters around you, poster that is announcing the death or the burial arrangement for some people. They are in their 70s. Okay. So it will accelerate. And then at some point, maybe at age 80 to 90, it will slow down. Because at that point, how many people have survived up to age 80? How many people have survived up to age 90? So you have them around, okay, and the mortality will now reduce at that point. Although it will still be increasing, but at least the rate of increase will have reduced. So this is what I expect each of your graphs to look like. I want to see what you're able to come up with for each of of course, these are the functions. This is not the first time we have been introduced to this. So if you have D, which is the total number of deaths, and the population is P, capital P. So the mortality rate will just be total number of deaths all over capital P and so on. Then you can adjust all of those accordingly. So we have done all of this in your year 3, one of your life contingencies. So all these functions are there. So, and then you have a typical illustration of population and death and how to use that to make calculations. So they are all here, the rates that you are computing and as a means of demonstration. So for example, for age 0 here, the mortality rate will just be 2327 divided by 364,800, and then you have that and so on. So this is how it's computed. So you shouldn't have any issue in computing. So I've given you a very brief assignment for you to study, and let's see if you will notice all some of my descriptions. If you have noticed them in your graph, okay. So all of this helps to explain how the functions in the table are calculated. So I want you to have a look at it. So this is how the population changed over time. So you will see that you have a cohort at the beginning of your study. Okay, it might be 1 million, might be 100,000, might be, whichever. So as you move further down, events will be captured. Number of deaths, of course, it will increase the population. But if there are deaths, you will have to reduce it. If you have immigrants, people coming from outside the country to add to the population, then it will be a plus. And if you have your population that are jackpying, moving outside the country, those ones will be minus. So your population at any given time will be a function of the population at the beginning, number of deaths, number of births, and their immigration, in fact, and their net immigration. By the time you remove the number that are immigrating out and those from those that are coming in. Okay, so you do all of those, and that gives you the status of your population at any given time. So I want you to have a look at it and take your time in its understanding it. So now let's briefly look at the factors that are contributing to mortality and morbidity variation. Why is it that some areas are experiencing more mortality rates than the other? Why is it that in terms of incidence of diseases, why do you have more prevalent in one area than the other? And those are the factors that we want to have a look at from now. So there are some factors that have been identified, and those factors are age, sex, geographical location, the class in which that individual is, the educational qualification of that individual is engaged in, mortality experience to differ from a location to another, to differ from an individual to another, because some countries are always experiencing natural disaster. So you see them having earthquakes, tsunami, and so on. So, and that's a major cause of death, and that means the mortality experience will shoot up, in that area. And then you have some areas that are always prone to war. They are permanently fighting war, like you have in the DR Congo. Ever since I was born, I know the war started before, and now even at war in DR Congo. So you can imagine that their mortality rate there will be our own. So those are the factors. So specifically the occupation, but the two factors that have been captured in our life table, they are ages and sex. And that's why if you check your life table, all the computation of the survival probability and mortality rate as a function of ages. So for each age, you have to number, and then that number, you use it to compute and so on. So life table can have only accounted for two factors, which is age and sex. So, and as you have noticed, we have ELT male, ELT 15 male, ELT 15 female. But other factors have not been captured. And those factors are occupation, okay? Occupation. So we all know that someone that works in the army is more likely to die on the job than that person that works as a teacher in school. So if the school is not a violent school, the teacher is likely to survive beyond a particular age than that soldier that might be sent to the war front and die any moment. So occupation is a major factor contributing to variation in mortality and morbidity. So another factor is nutrition. So you will notice that babies that are malnutrition, you see that they will have stunted growth. You have them having very tiny arm, tiny leg. Their stomach might be protruding, and then they look very, very haggard. So, but if you look at babies that are well fed, you see them having robust cheek, being healthy, and so on. You could also have an individual that is well fed, but he was eating unhealthy food, and then at the end of the day, he ended up having diabetes. So the nutrition can be on both sides, that you take good food, but you took them in excess, and that will be trouble. Or you don't even have food at all. It's another issue. Or you have enough food, but that food does not have the basic ingredient that will make that individual that's taking the food to be protected from diseases. Because when you eat good food, your system will build immunity against some diseases. Housing is also a major factor. So can you in a house that is not properly ventilated? Can you imagine that? So everywhere is stoky. If there are outbreak of any airborne diseases, possibility of it spreading the house is very high because the housing system was not good. Or you have your house where the environment is very filthy. Maybe the neighbor, that's your next building is where they dump rubbish. So, and of course, that rubbish might find its way into your water table. If you have a borehole in your house and you take water from there, the house started having diseases. So, all of these are very, very key when it comes to housing. So, you should have your house where the area is decent and where you will not have health-related issue as a result of the environment. So the next is the climate. Okay, so climate is also a major distinguishing factor for mortality and morbidity. So in an environment where they are highly exposed to natural disaster. In India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and some environment, even in China, the monsoon rain, it's a yearly occurrence, and each time that rain comes, many people lose their lives because the rain is very violent, and it comes with its very destructive wind. So that's a natural disaster. That's what climate, had brought them, and there's nothing anybody can do except to just find somewhere that is safe when the storm is still on. You also have some area where volcanic eruption is very, very prevalent. And some of these eruption come, with ashes that are very sulfuric and injurious to health. So, of course, that will mean health condition for the people around that area and so on. So, climate is also a major issue, in mortality and morbidity experience. Then education, like I said, someone that is well educated is likely to live a decent life. You can imagine someone that works in CBN and the driver of either a pep or a bike. So the risk that kind of pep man or the bike man, the risk that they are facing is far, far, far higher than that worker that works in the central bank that is likely to be in an environment that is well organized and the compensation that they get for their work too will also make them to afford any drugs if there's if they are faced with sickness. Then the genetic makeup is also a factor. Some people, we all know what people face during the during crisis, especially those that are having excess, genotype. So from natural design, those people with SS are always falling sick at some time. So and there's limits to what they can do. They can't get involved in too many stressful activities. They'll start having crisis. Then you also have some people naturally, they're having asthma. It's part of their, maybe it's in the family. So they can't stay in an area where it is choky or where there is smoke and they start having crisis. So genetic makeup is also a major factor that determines mortality and morbidity rate. So I've taken them one after the other. I will explain them. So I will want us to stop here for today. So in our next class, I've explained all of this. I've explained, so there's no need for us to start. So we'll just do selection and then we would compute. We'll do the calculation of the rates. Okay. In our next class on Friday. So the floor is open to questions. Yeah, I know that Mr. Mafeng has done a lot. I know he had covered, substantially, if not all, the content. There are two materials that we were given. You have the material for the calculation of the rates, and then you have the one for the morbidity. So that means I have one for mortality, I have one for morbidity. And then I also prepared some videos for you, and I hope that you guys have been watching that, which is class. And with my own class, I expect all of you to do very well in your exam. And beyond that, some of you that will find yourself in the industry, I want you to excel. Okay, some of you will end up with government agency. I want you to excel. So, but you need to learn. You need to have a full grasp of what we are learning. Some of you will also work, for themselves. This will assist you in one way or the other. So, do you have questions? My friend? Hello, my friend? Hello? So I guess maybe he's not in. So I will advise you to type your names and matric number in the chat area. And that is what
Yes,
I will
Prof.
as the
Hello, Prof.
attendant. Yes. So
Yes.
I was just asking if there are some key areas students are having challenge, based on your interaction with them so far.
Okay. Well, okay. Yes, Prof. I'm listening, Prof.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know so that in my next class I can address that.
Okay. Yeah. No, we don't have any issue. So far, we've covered up even to this particular point where you are already. And I gave them an assignment on that, which they submitted 2 days ago.
All
Hello,
right.
Prof.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm okay. So, but
Yes.
at
Yes.
least so the class continues on Friday. So we'll have our class. So it's better for me to make it short, because it has implication on student data, and
Yes.
we all know how costly data can be. So so it's better we make it short and very concise. So, ladies and
Yes, Prof.
gentlemen,
So
yes,
the
go
class
ahead.
on Monday will still continue. The class on Monday, so I will still take the physical class with them. While on Friday, then of course we will take the online class.
Yes.
Yes, Prof. Thank you so much. Prof.
Okay. So, guys, I wish you all the best. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, sir.